Final Mission. In a surprise twist, the series comes to an abrupt finish in Episode 9 of Season 4.
Picard is heading to mediate a dispute in a mining colony, and he summons Wesley to the bridge, who arrives 10 minutes late.
He thinks he's in trouble, but then he's informed that there's an opening at Starfleet Academy, and as his final mission, he'll accompany Picard to help settle the dispute.
As this is happening, they pick up a distress signal. It turns out to be a dumb-looking alien with what look like dried snot trails in front of its mouth, which would presumably get in the way of eating.
All I know is that they were competing with that dude from the Most Toys.
She tells them that a ship is orbiting their planet, and radiation levels have gone up 3,000%, so they assume it's an attack, but the ship will not answer their hails.
So Riker takes the Enterprise to go help with that, while Picard goes to do his mediating.
In the shuttle bay, Geordi is talking to Durgo, captain of the shuttlecraft that will take them down.
And Wesley and Picard showcase that Starfleet arrogance we've come to know and loathe.
Captain of a mining shuttle?
Yes, Ensign. Captain.
Oh, yes, she seems a very sturdy craft.
Captain Durgo is played by Nick Tate, who is most known for Space 1999, as well as his voiceover work in trailers.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time.
How'd you do this?
Becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
On the way down to the planet, they lose control, and Durgo says he can't contact the Enterprise, but for some reason Picard and Wesley don't try using their communicators.
I like how the door was actually on a hinge. We don't see that too much in the future. Wesley finds a moon they can land on, so they do it to some very Star Wars-esque music. I like how, as they're talking about how old the ship is, Picard physically breaks off a piece of it as he's moving to a new seat. They end up in the middle of a desert without any food or water.
Meanwhile, the Enterprise approaches the orbiting ship, which turns out to be hauling hazardous waste, which is causing the radiation.
So the plan is to push it into a nearby star.
But there is an asteroid field in the way.
They're also notified that Picard never arrived to his mediation, and I like how they knew it right away instead of at the very end of the episode, as we've seen before.
Riker says they'll handle the orbiting ship first. That way Picard has less of a chance of coming back, and Riker can remain as captain. Down on the planet, Picard suggests heading for some distant mountains, and they leave an arrow showing the direction they went in. The crane shot as they walked away was cool, and I liked how they shot in a real location, but I did think it was funny that they immediately start going off course.
We then get the typical trek across the desert montage, including the expected shots of the sun, and somebody falling down in the sand, and Wesley is being kind of a dick, too.
And you were worried about how tough the captain is?
He picks up a repeating energy pattern from the mountains. They find a cave and debate whether or not it may have been created by water, but no one points out that they track the signal to a place where there appear to be stair formations leading down.
Back on the Enterprise, things of course don't go as expected with the garbage ship, and they'll be further delayed.
They end up using tractor beams to haul the ship, but they become exposed to dangerous radiation.
Back in the cave, the group finds water, but it's got a force field blocking it. Durgo starts to shoot it, but it causes energy ghosts to zoom around and knock some rocks loose.
Picard tries to maneuver Wesley into the path of some of the rocks, but he accidentally gets hit himself.
Picard is hurt, and he tells Wesley that his condition will only get worse, and to keep an eye on Durgo because he's dangerous. Back on the Enterprise, things of course don't go as expected with the garbage ship, and they'll be further delayed.
Oh, that's the same thing you said earlier.
I know.
Oh, okay. Durgo comes up with a plan to take down the force field.
Wesley doesn't agree with the plan, but he does it anyway.
And the weird energy thing ends up going after Durgo, and it kills him. The Enterprise is seconds away from lethal radiation exposure when they finally make it through the asteroid field and release the garbage ship into the sun.
Couldn't they have just phasered a bunch of the asteroids out of the way?
They could have done a million different things.
They should have beamed aboard the garbage ship and piloted it manually into the star. Wesley talks to Picard and reveals all of his feelings, which Picard would only allow if he didn't have a choice because he was literally dying, which he is.
Wesley even goes so far as to say,
I've done it all because I want you to be proud of me.
And then Picard starts trying to die faster.
He then grabs Picard's hand, which hopefully wasn't from the arm that was broken, and promises to keep him alive until they are found.
Wesley analyzes the energy sentry and manages to disable it and access the water.
I like how he had to physically shoot himself into a quick turnaround instead of setting up his phaser somewhere else like he did before. It was very dramatic and unnecessary. And it actually passes through him, too. And it's also lucky that it's water they're able to drink instead of some weird alien water from some planet that their bodies can't handle.
Somebody's going to comment and say water is H2O no matter what, but...
You're probably right. But in space, it's H3O.
Beverly and the others finally show up and rescue them, and as Picard is being taken off in a stretcher, he tells Wesley,
You will be missed.
and I half expected Wesley to say that he had decided to stick around, because between him and Riker, that's already happened a million times.
Final mission. Overall?
This was not a terrible episode, but it definitely wasn't very good. I really hated the way we were supposed to side with Picard and Wesley against Durgo just because they're the main characters, even though they're being dicks just as much as he is. And as the episode goes on, Durgo starts acting exaggeratedly dickish and stupid just so we will feel that Picard and Wesley are going through a bigger struggle, but it didn't feel authentic. The episode would have been better if they had actually been trying to work together, because then Durgo's death would have meant something. As it is, you could have had Picard and Wesley going down by themselves and it wouldn't have changed anything. The bonding experience between Picard and Wesley was essentially the same one we saw before in Samaritan Snare, which they even brought up. It felt very predictable, and all the moments that were supposed to feel emotional and important felt very artificial. The Enterprise subplot didn't really matter, nothing really happened, it was just an excuse to keep them away, but it did make me wonder what kind of effects everyone was going to suffer after being exposed to so much radiation that they were literally seconds away from dying. I would have liked more information about the cave, but at the same time I don't really care. Yet again, a Wesley leaving episode drops the ball. I gave it a C-.
I give it a C. I'm glad Wesley actually leaving the ship got its own episode. In the past, he was planning on leaving, but never did because of various stuff, and it was usually a B-plot to something else that was actually going on. And I don't fully understand what it takes to be accepted into the Academy. We've had entire episodes dedicated to taking tests and jumping through all these hoops, but does any of that really matter in the end? Because it doesn't really seem like it. I think it's just because he knows Picard, and he's just pulling strings. And the whole Enterprise side of it, doesn't the ship separate into two big pieces for this exact reason? I like how Picard gave Wesley his pep talk about standing up to Durgo, and it seems like he will, and that will strengthen his character, but then he doesn't, and the only reason Durgo is taken out of the equation is because Wesley caves, like a little bitch.
I hadn't thought about it like that, but I guess that's true.
And the whole emotional conversation between Picard and Wesley was a little ridiculous and definitely felt artificial. We're expected to believe they have this really deep connection, but I haven't felt it as deeply as the show wants us to feel it. Have you?
No.
So Wesley's gone, supposedly. I guess we'll have to wait till the next episode to see if that's actually true. They could just do an opening where it says, I decided to stay. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,